Hello everyone and welcome to a truly remarkable game that was played in 1961 between two international masters. One, a Portuguese-Cuban international master, Jose Francisco Perez. Somewhere it's one Perez, some other places it's two Perez. So, I put two for good measure. Hope you guys don't mind. Against the Portuguese international master, Joaquim Durao. And it's a game that fits right into the sorcery series. I don't know, you guys can be the judge of it. Should I put it into my sorcery playlist, but I think it's definitely a nice one. So let's check it out. Like I said, Jose Francisco Perez versus Joaquim Durao. He's a 13 times Portuguese champion, and he represented his country in 10 chess Olympiads. Also, he was the president of the Portuguese Chess Federation. So let's dive straight into it. Jose Francisco Perez opens with Ponte d4. We have knight to f6, c4, g6, knight to c3, and bishop to g7. So a normal King's Indian defense. We have pawn to e4, d6, and now bishop to g5. This is an older continuation against the King's Indian. Nowadays you will see something like f3 or knight to f3 or bishop to e2 or even f4. But bishop to g5 was what was played, as this is a game from 1961, like I've mentioned. So here, after bishop g5, we have pawn to c5, striking against white's center, and white grabs more space in the center with the d5. We have h6, challenging the bishop, bishop to h4, and now queen to a5, putting pressure on the knight, also pinning the knight, preparing knight captures on e4. So queen d2, unpinning, and now pawn to g5, bishop to g3, and the knight to h5. Putting pressure on the bishop, but also with some ideas of maybe placing the bishop on e5, maybe capturing on g3. All depends on what white plays. So here, bishop to d3 and knight to d7. Now the knight can also come to e5. We have knight g to e2 and now knight to e5, attacking the bishop on d3. But here, white just castles and now knight back to g6, adding more control over the f4 square. And this position, in fact, has been reached twice, both times by Joaquim Durao. In one, his opponent, Toran Albero, played a3, and that game ended in a draw, but this is the game that we are covering, and here, Jose Francisco Perez played pawn to f4, and it is now, as of move 13, that this game was never repeated again. So let's see, how do you react to this? Okay, in the game, knight captures on g3 was played. In modern chess, a more forcing g captures on f4 would most likely happen. For example, something like bishop captures, and now bishop to e5 is very, very annoying for white, because black doesn't care that white can mess up black's pawn structure here, because you'll play bishop d7 and castle queenside. So if anything, opening up the lines towards white king really help you. But in the game, knight captures on g3 was played. Here we have h captures and now bishop to g4. Developing the bishop, preparing to castle queenside, pawn to e5, and now we have castles queenside. We have a3, preparing the strongest move in chess, and now pawn to h5. Of course, Durao wants to play h4, open up the h file, and have the rook controlling the h file. So rook f to b1, preparing that b4 push, e6. Look at all this tension on the board. h4 coming, b4 coming. This is, you know that it's gonna explode somewhere. So pawn to b4. Now, of course, the black has to react to this. The queen is under attack. Queen to b6, and now knight to a4, attacking the queen and putting more pressure on that c5 pawn. So queen to a6, basically the only square for the queen, and now comes knight e to c3. Interestingly, white's b captures on c5 would be a lot better, because there's just no good way to reply for black here, especially if you capture the knight. If you capture the knight, just c captures on d6 and black resigns. This is completely unplayable. Even if you trade down some material, it still doesn't matter. There's nothing for you to play. To give you a fun line, let's say if he captures on d5, bishop to f5 check. And now if king b8, you can even sacrifice the rook. If king captures, rook to b1 check, king to a8, and now the spectacular bishop to e4. I mean, the black's position just falls apart. There is no defense against bishop captures on d5 checkmate, and even if you capture the bishop, queen captures will again be checkmate. So Terrible stuff here. It's not a forced line, but the knight hanging here isn't really hanging. So instead, we have knight e to c3. That's why the knight, well, it was okay not to defend it. D captures on e5. Now we have b captures on c5, opening up the b file now, and e captures on f4. And now we have pawn to c6. It's a race. Will black be first to open up the h file, or will white get the attack happening on the queen side? And here bishop to d4 check is very strong for Durao, but he goes for b captures on c6. He's not afraid to open up lines, but now comes pawn to c5. An attack is opened up towards his queen, queen to a5, and now queen to b2. Threatening queen to b7 checkmate, and here bishop to d4 check, and now king to f1. Interestingly, king to h1, although you don't want to put the king on the same file as the rook, you don't really care. There's no time for h4 because checkmate is hanging, and it's very, very hard to defend against this. So king to f1 was played. This gives black a few more ideas, because now black has the escape, king to d7. And okay, it doesn't seem like you can survive this. Look at all the pawns, the bishop, the knight, the queen coming to b7. So queen b7 check, king to e8, and now queen captures on c6 with check. A bit more forcing with bishop captures on g6. With this, white retains the winning advantage. But okay, this is 1961. We don't use such fancy terms here. Here we say, okay, that's a nice one. So queen captures on c6 check, king to f8, and now rook to b5. And look at this, the black queen is trapped. There is nothing black can do, and the black should just resign. However, we would not be showing this game if this happened. Maybe we would, but not under these circumstances. Here, knight to e5. Now, okay, you capture my queen, I'm gonna capture your queen on c6. And here we have queen to b7. Actually, capturing the black queen is the best thing you can do here. And then the game trends down into some sort of a weird game after d captures on c6, where black continues the attack on the king side. White has a passed c pawn, so all in all, it's a draw, but a very, very complicated draw. So instead, after knight to e5, we have queen to b7 here. Now, the black queen is still hanging. Again, should black just resign? Well, not really, because now black is completely winning, but you guys will have to figure it out how Joaquim Durao did it. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find the winning idea for black while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that, okay, there's nothing we can do about the queen, but there is something we can do, obviously. I'm not just asking you to pause the video for no reason. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to h4. That's the good stuff. And now you see the bishops are slicing this way. The knight is controlling f3. The pawn can capture on g3, can be pushed to f3. The rook will be controlling the h file. So can white defend this? And is there something white can play other than capturing the queen? Well, there really isn't a good move here. There's no way to threaten the black king. The black king is remarkably safe on f8. So here, queen captures on f5, on a5, grabbing material. Now h captures on g3, threatening rook to h1 checkmate, as the bishops are slicing all the way here. So of course white has to move, king to e1, and now if you allow king d2, the white king will escape. So bishop to e3, still controlling all of the squares here and threatening rook to h1, but now it's a bit different because the bishop now can go back to the f1 square, which is what he does. Bishop f1, rook to h1 by Durao, and now we have queen to b5, adding more defenders to the bishop here. So if you have to give back a little bit of material, doesn't really matter. But now comes pawn to f3, the absolute strongest move here. If you allow captures here, then it's all over. The bishop is pinned. The problem is there's no way to stop this. G captures on f3, and now pawn to g2. Again, how do you play this? We have f captures on g4, at least eliminating one of the attackers, the bishop on g4, and now g1 queen. Now the queen is back in the game, and now how do you defend? Well, rook to a2. You have to stop queen to f2 check. So here we have queen to g3 check. Interestingly and sadly, here Durao misses a beautiful mate in 7 that starts with knight to f3 check. It's hard to find, because after knight to f3 check, king d1, you have to go back with the knight, and everyone knows that the hardest move to find. is with the knight back. So here knight to d5, knight to d4, and the white resigns. You don't even care that the white queen is hanging. Basically, you only care about these two squares being covered by the knight and the bishop covering this square. And now whatever you play with white doesn't really matter. Just queen captures on f1 will be checkmate. There's nothing you can do. Of course, the black queen will be captured, but the rook will deliver checkmate. So the game did not end here, but that's also good for us because more action to be had. So queen to g3 check, king to d1, now queen to f3 check, king to c2, and now rook captures on f1, grabbing that bishop. d6 now, white hopes to get some sort of an attack against the black king, but now knight to c6, stopping everything. The queen nicely defends the knight. King to b2, and now rook to f2 with check, and king to a1. So did white finally find some sort of a safe haven against black's attack? Not really. Queen h1 check. Look at this. Knight to b1, and now bishop to d4 check, and knight to b2. Look at these knights here. I mean, incredible. This knight is pinned by the queen here. This knight is pinned by the bishop. There is nothing you can do. And how do you break through here? Well, that is up to you to figure out. Feel free to pause the video and try to find a forced mate in 5 while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting the smothered mate. Here, whenever you're finding checkmates, you have to imagine pieces where they are not. Imagine if this knight was here, this would be a smothered mate. So how do we get the knight there? Congratulations to everyone who found it. Knight to b4, and now you're just threatening knight to c2 because the knights cannot move. And there's really no way to stop this. There's no way for the queen to stop the knight getting there. So what do? You accept the knight. A captures on b4, but now why did we give up the knight? What's the idea? Well, now the queen no longer guards the knight on b2, and now queen to c1. And now both the queen, bishop, and rook are attacking the knight on b2, and there's no way to add another defender. It's just a sad way for white to just wait for the end of the game. Rook captures on a7, bishop captures on b2 check, rook captures on b2 only move, and now queen captures on b2. So really a spectacular queen sacrifice, born not out of maybe some sort of a brilliant planning strategy or something, but out of necessity, as well, here you just did not have anything. Or maybe he got his queen trapped there for a reason. Maybe he put the queen there, said, oh, I mean, I'm gonna play h4 and I'm gonna play for checkmate. Whatever happens, even if I have to give up the queen, at least my opponent will spend a tempo or two going after the queen. So truly a remarkable game. I think it might be fitting for the sorcery series, but like I said, you guys are welcome to comment on that. So brilliant game by Joaquim Durao. And like I said, this was played in 1961, and I will show you the end of the game as Joaquim Durao faced Bobby Fischer 6 years after this game was played, and this was the position. He again had the black pieces, and Fischer had the white here, and it was in the Havana Olympiad in 1966, and Bobby has the winning position here. But it's very interesting how Bobby does it. So just as an extra to this video, feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Bobby Fischer while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on always paying attention to that move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is pawn to b4. This is what Bobby played, and it was in this position that his opponent resigned the game, in this case Joaquim Durao, as there is nothing more to be done here. Or maybe they played a few more moves, I don't know, but it'd be cooler if he resigned here, so let's just say he did, although he probably didn't. Because, well, Bobby now created a mating net, and there is no way out of this for the black king. So he didn't play the endgame to promote a pawn. He just completely immobilized the black king. The problem is you have the e4 square, but if you go for e4, just rook captures on c4 check, king d5 and king d3, and next move you are getting checkmated. There's no avoiding this. And if you try something else like c captures on b3 en passant, doesn't matter. That's exactly what Bobby wanted. Now the d3 square has been vacated for the white king. So king d3, and again, there's no stopping c4 check. The only way to stop c4 check is to capture on a4, but then okay, you still play it, and then black has to give up the rook, and that's it. So basically, by playing pawn to b4, black has to choose between checkmate and well, just severe material loss. So yeah, that's the game, or rather those were the games. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely played by Durao on both accounts here, by just winning a brilliant game and coming back from a seemingly lost position many times, and also on reaching an end game against Bobby Fischer. That's, I mean, that's somewhat considered that a victory in itself. So yeah, once again, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Kerrigan, David Masse, Matthew Benoit, Ravishing Reptiles YouTube, and Michael Calbera for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.